Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Yes, it is.
He buys sleepwear. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sleepwear shorts for men?
I bet that Nuno's sleepwear.
Talk.com. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us after the game. Another unfortunate one for Syracuse football. Boston College rolls into Central New York on a 10-game losing streak and hands it to Syracuse in the second half, 34-12, the final score on a chilly Saturday night inside the Dome. Syracuse ends the season with 8 consecutive losses. After taking down Clemson at the end of September down in Death Valley, the Orange would never win again in the 2025 campaign. 34-12, the final score. Boston College takes down Syracuse. Thanks so much if you're hanging out with us on CuseSportsTalk.com. The phone lines are open. 315-437-7644 is the number to call if you want to get involved in the action. One more time, that's for ESPN 44. 315-437-7644, the number to call if you want to get involved and chime in, talk a little bit of Syracuse football here as we wrap up the 2025 campaign. As always, it's the Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, Burdick Ford post-game show, and it's presented to you by Point Guard Advisors and Charles Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Syracuse and BC in the Dome did not go as planned for Syracuse football today. Unfortunately, the Orange just never got it going offensively. In the second half, the defense certainly had its collapses, and Boston College blew them out. I know Syracuse scored a touchdown late in this game, but really for all intensive purposes, Boston College blew Syracuse out in this football game. BC outgained Syracuse 433-254. BC outpasses Syracuse 296-65. Syracuse again does not amass 100 passing yards in the football game. Boston College in the rushing department, effective with 137 yards on the ground. Syracuse had 189 yards on the ground in this game. The Orange doubled up Boston College in penalties. Undisciplined football. 8 penalties for 76 yards, while BC had 4 for 31 yards. First downs, Boston College had 20 of them to Syracuse's 12. On third down, Syracuse was 4 of 14. Boston College was fairly effective, 50% on third down, 6 of 12. On fourth down, 0 of 1 for BC, 1 of 2 for Syracuse. On offense, BC only ran 55 plays to Syracuse's 59, but that's because BC was moving the ball. Chunk plays down the field. Average yards per play was almost 8, while Syracuse had 4 yards per play. Average yards per completion of the passing department for Syracuse, 6.5 yards. There was no downfield passing game. Boston College, 16.5 yards per completion. And they were running the ball for 4.7 yards per carry as well. BC was perfect in the red zone. They went 5 of 5, converted on all 5 trips, scored 34 points in the contest. They also missed a field goal. And this was a game where the turnovers were not a factor. No turnovers for either side, but Boston College, again, was just so much more superior to Syracuse when its offense was on the field that it was more than enough to get the job done. 2 quarterbacks played today for BC. Dylan Lonergan got the start as expected. Grayson James then came in and played the majority of the game. Lonergan went just 2 of 2 for 8 yards, and then he got hurt. It was a thumb injury. You saw him come off with his thumb literally in a cup, as if to not show what the injury was. That was in the early moments, but again, Grayson James ended up putting together a nice game for him, 16 of 24, 288 yards in the contest. All 4 touchdowns came on the ground for Boston College, again showing their ability to get the ball within the red zone. They went 5 of 5 on those trips, 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Turbo Richard was pretty solid for him today. 15 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns for the star running back, Turbo Richards. You look at McDonald, he had 5 carries, 28 yards, 2 touchdowns in the contest. Boston College ran it again for 137 total yards. They also had a slew of pass catchers today. They were certainly highlighted by Bond, their star wide receiver. He ended up with 8 catches, 171 yards, along of 54, 9 total targets in the game, and ended up having their better performance for any of the receivers today. Lewis Bond, the senior. But besides that, a handful of guys targeted. 3 catches for Franklin for 46 yards, 2 catches for Harris. A total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pass catchers today for Boston College. You compare that to the Syracuse pass catching department, and it certainly contrasts quite a bit. I was fascinated to see Syracuse utilize Dan Villari so much today, and I want to sing his praises a little bit because Villari's been a guy ever since he stepped foot on campus here at Syracuse, no matter what the coaching staff was, who's just been willing to do whatever. Doing whatever to help the team find a way to win. That's been the MO of Dan Villari. And today ends up with just 1 catch. Had a whole lot of targets, though. And then Villari runs a ton of wildcat for Syracuse today. Very similar to what we saw at the end of the Dino Babers era when they were just trying to put together any way to win, right? And that's what you saw out of Dan Villari a couple of years back. Remember, he came in as a quarterback, transferring from Michigan. They move him to tight end. He says, all right, whatever you need me to do. Then he's running the Wildcat a couple of years ago. Now he's doing it again here. Like, that's just a guy that loves SU, plays for the Block S. And I think it's worth giving him his flowers today because he was a big part of the little bit of success Syracuse did have. He had 11 carries, 44 yards, fitting, averaged 4 yards a carry, and had a touchdown today for Syracuse. Will Nixon, 16 carries, 73 yards. Joe Filardi, 8 carries, 54 yards. I thought we were going to see Rich Beelan today. We did not see Rich Beelan today. Fran Brown said earlier in the week that we were going to see Rich Beelan today. That is not what ended up being the case. No Rich Beelan for Syracuse. And I did think we were going to see him. Fran said we were going to see him. Just did not end up transpiring. I would have liked to have seen him just to see what there is in that, see what you have in Rich Beelan at quarterback. I think we know the answer to what you have in Joe Filardi. Didn't get to see Rich Beelan today for the Cuse. Phone lines are open. 315-437-7644 is the number to call if you want to chime in. Not going to be on super long. We don't have the commercial breaks and everything like that. We're going to keep the show rolling and get to Fran Brown's post-game press conference as soon as we have it. But again, you know, we're not going to roll on all night long here. So if you want to get your calls in, now's the time. Once we get Fran, then obviously we're not going to interrupt Fran. So come join us here on QSportsTalk.com. But now is a good time to take a peek at that drive chart. And that drive chart has been very unkind to Syracuse so far this year. And we've read through the drive chart a handful of times, and it hasn't been pretty a lot. And we're going to do it again today because that's where we're at. We're at drive chart time here on Q Sports Talk after dark here on a Saturday as we wind down the 2025 college football season. Syracuse's drive chart today. And a 34-12 loss to Boston College in the Dome. By the way, a one-win Boston College team coming into today who had lost 10 consecutive football games and had not beaten an FBS opponent this year. Lone win was against FCS Fordham. Syracuse rolls out there in the Dome with Joe Filardi at quarterback. They punt on the opening drive. 3 plays, They gain 0 yards for a 3-and-out. Syracuse musters 2 back-to-back field goals on consecutive drives, an 8-play 53-yard drive, a 14-play 65-yard drive to score 6 points on offense. Syracuse would take it into the halftime break, 1 play, 7 yards before taking a knee. This is how the second half went for the Orange. Punt, 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 punt. Touchdown. 12 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. And a turnover on downs to end it. Syracuse in the second half, those punt, 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 punt drives. For those counting, that's 5 consecutive punts. 3-and-out. 4 plays, 9 yards. A 3-and-out where you amass negative 2 yards. 5 plays for 5 yards. And another 3-and-out. They never got more than 1 first down those first 5 drives of the second half. And in total, amassed 9 plus 5 is 14, minus 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Amassed 13 yards in 5 drives to open the second half. In a 34-12 loss to Boston College. The Boston College drives read as follows. Punt, field goal, punt, field goal, touchdown, missed field goal, tutty, 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 turnover on downs, knee it out at the end of the game. That tutty, 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 back to back to back on 3 consecutive drives was the backbreaker in Syracuse's 34-12 loss to Boston College in the JMA Dome. Phone lines are open if you want to get involved. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. All right. So, the conversation in the chat seems to be, where do you go from here? Right? And it's a very valid question as to where you go from here for Syracuse football. I think really, really big changes need to be made on the defensive side of the ball. Defense is bad. Boston College is a bad football team. They won 1 game this entire season and hadn't beat an FBS opponent. And they came into the Dome and dropped 34 on Syracuse's head with 3 consecutive scoring drives in the second half. It can't happen if you're Syracuse in this game. And Syracuse wasn't playing all the freshmen or anything like that. Syracuse put its defense out there to try and win a football game. And there's proof that they were trying to do everything they could do to win. There's proof in that pudding because of the fact that you saw them do things like stir it up with the Wildcat and mix things up a little bit today. So, I really do believe that Syracuse was trying to do everything it could to try and win this game. And I think the defense just wasn't cutting it if you're Syracuse. Boston College to this point had not scored that many points in a game. 34 today against Syracuse. Had not scored that many points since week 1 against Fordham. They scored 66. They had not scored that many points. Week 2. Sorry, double overtime against Michigan State. They scored 40 points. After week 2, they had not scored more than 24. And then they dropped 34 on Syracuse. Phone lines are open. We got Tony on the line in North Carolina, so let's bring him into the program. 315-437-7644, the number to call if you want to join in on the conversation. We got our man Tony. How we doing, Tony?
Good. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Always.
And just wanted to... there's interference there.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear something else in the background.
Yeah, I'm hearing a little something too. Can you power through it or?
I think it's another.
How about that? Can you hear us now? Is that better? Yeah.
Hard to me to wrap my head around what's going on. So I mean, especially that defense. That's been an issue since last year, and it's unfortunate. Some people are going to have to pay for the jobs, except for the head coordinator. That's all I have to say. Thank you for taking my call, Gio. You have a good evening.
Yeah, Tony, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for chiming into the talk. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but glad we were able to have you power through it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. This is you got to look in the mirror if you're Cuse, and I'm trying to keep the faith. Like our man Mike McAllister in the pregame show today was big on keep the faith. All the recruits are still coming. This, that, and the other, but I just don't see how you can walk out there and lose to a one-win team who hadn't beaten a power conference opponent and get blown out on your home turf like that, and we got to sit here and think it's cool. And I also don't understand how we got to watch them get blown out last week 70-0 till the waning moments of that game and look and see, it's all right, it's cool. It's cool. They got good recruits coming. It's all good. Like, no, it's not. That's historically bad. Historically bad. Syracuse with a 3-9 season this year. There's a fine line. Like, okay, Angeli gets hurt. They still muster like a 5-7 year, 6-6. Like, fine. And I know the schedule was hard. I get that. It wasn't the fact that they lost the games necessarily. It's the fashion in which they did it. They quit. They quit last week. They quit this week. They quit. It's not the losses. It's how it looks. You can't let a one-win team come into the Dome and boat race you. Notre Dame's great. You can't get 70 hung on your head. It's bad. It's bad. So I don't know what exactly needs to change, but something, right? Something. I think the caliber of athlete is certainly going to get better, but the inability to adapt on offense was certainly incredibly jarring this year because when it didn't go to plan and you couldn't just have this nice pocket passing system for a pocket passing quarterback like a Kyle McCord, like a Steve Angeli, it was anemic. There was nothing on offense. Nothing. No run game to lean on. Nothing. The defensive side of the ball. Let's take a stroll down Syracuse's record this year and see how many points they allowed in games. You look at what Syracuse did throughout the year this year. They allowed 45 points to Tennessee. They allowed 20 points to UConn. They allowed 24 to Colgate. They allowed 21 to Clemson. They allowed 38 to Duke. They allowed 31 to SMU. They allowed 30 to Pitt. They allowed 41 to Georgia Tech, 27 to North Carolina, 38 to Miami, 70 to Notre Dame, and 34 to Boston College. The last time Syracuse's defense allowed less than 27 points was against Colgate. Against Clemson, week 4. And even then, they gave up 24 points to Colgate, 21 points to Clemson. I get the backups were in at the tail end there against Colgate, and they score a little bit, but it's like this is jarring on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's just week after week after week of getting bullied when the defense is out there. making really, really bad teams, I'm going to say it, bad teams, look great. North Carolina stunk, and they came into the Dome, and it looked easy, particularly in the second half of these games, right? They make a couple adjustments, and Syracuse looks like they've seen a ghost. North Carolina scores 27, blows them out, right? Offense doesn't do anything, sure, but the defense. North Carolina is not a good team. They allow 27 points. Boston College, not a good team. Second worst team Syracuse played all year. The only team worse than Boston College that Syracuse played this year was Colgate. Boston College beats them 34-12. I mean, you look at what the defense has done, and it's just not there. And I understand they're put in very inopportune positions. There's no doubt. Phone lines are open, 315-437-7644. Phones are ringing as we speak right now. I know the defense has been put in inopportune positions by the fact that the offense just consistently is on and off the field, right? 3 and out. Boom. Interception. Boom. Like, I'm trying to be sympathetic to that, but it's still not good. And they're not getting stops regardless. Like, Syracuse was in this game a bit on offense today at times. They had their chance, right? They missed on the gadget play where Jonte Cook throws it down wide open, underthrows him on the sideline. That was their chance to really assert themselves on offense, but didn't end up happening. We got our man Jake in Iowa on the line. Let's go right to Jake. Jake, how we doing, brother?
Oh, so great. I'm doing so great after that embarrassment. That made me long for the Greg Robinson days of football. The last 2 weeks have been disgusting. With about a minute to go, Fran Brown should have pulled his wallet out and just started handing cash to the fans that were still sitting there through that debacle. That was disgusting. What is this coaching staff doing? With like 2 minutes to go, they finally start letting the quarterback throw some passes, and oh wow, he completed a couple.
Yeah.
He couldn't have done that all day. I'd say why even put a quarterback out there, but for most of the game they put a tight end out there. So just humiliating. Hoping we can turn some things around next season. Thanks for taking my call. And by the way, Steve Angeli might deserve $50 million next year in NIL because apparently he's the entire team.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, most valuable for sure, right? That's Jake in Iowa. Jake, we appreciate you ringing in all season long. He's been a big part of our post-game shows. He always interjects his thoughts, and we appreciate Jake as always. Yeah, Steve's certainly been the most valuable player for Syracuse this year. I don't think there's any denying that. Man, it fell off a cliff in a way I just never thought a Fran Brown-led team would. And it seems like you really got to see something next year, a spark again next year, because of how rock bottom they've hit. In year one, you saw proof in the pudding. So there is evidence. This isn't like a Dino Babers belief without evidence situation. There is evidence that it can be a righted ship. They won 10 games last year. They led the nation in passing. Maybe they just need the players. I don't exactly know the answer. I'm really puzzled to find the answer, but it seems like they just gotta, in the modern era of college football and collegiate athletics as a whole, it seems like you have to invest. It seems like they need to invest and buy a bunch of really good players. And I know reinforcements are coming in high school recruiting. If they can keep guys like Calvin Russell, you hope that they can keep guys like Calvin Russell. If I'm Calvin Russell and I'm seeing the 3 games I've attended this year, them get blown out by Duke, by Carolina, and on the road at Miami, if that's what I'm seeing, amassing 1 offensive touchdown in 3 games, if that's what I'm seeing, you must have a lot of trust in the relationship being built with Fran Brown and the rest of this Syracuse coaching staff to want to be a part of that. So kudos, but it's tough. I think they got to hit the portal hard. I really do. I think they got to hit the portal hard. I just don't think high school recruiting is the overnight fix. And nowadays you have to fix it overnight. I think there needs to be more of a balance. But they hit the portal hard this year. They got 2 quarterbacks this year. They got a stud receiver in Jonte Cook, which I think he would have been good if he had a quarterback to throw him the ball. He's still their leading receiver. You brought in a receiver. You brought in 2 quarterbacks. Other than that, they didn't bring in a whole ton. I mean, like Chris Peel was here, right? Deuce Chestnut was here last year. Valari was well here. Justice Ross Simmons was here. Darryl Gill was here. Demetrius Samuel High School. Antoine Delorier High School. Like, a lot of these guys were here. So besides Cook and the 2 quarterbacks, they didn't bring in a ton. I think they got to bring in more, especially on the defensive side of the football. I think they got to bring in more. Really bolster this thing up a little bit. And we'll see what the coaching staff on the defense looks like. Elijah Robinson and Jeff Nixon will be back. We know that. But we'll see what the coaching staff looks like for Syracuse. Give us some thoughts in the chat. We're still waiting for Fran Brown to get to that podium so that we can bring you his live post-game press conference here. Still waiting on Fran, but hit us up in the chat. Ask any questions you could possibly want to ask, and I'll answer them up for you. So I read through the chat here. Yeah, this is exactly what Vegas envisioned SU would be without Angeli. Yeah. They didn't think that Syracuse could win without him. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Theo Cuse says he's not sure he wants to hear anything Fran Brown has to say in the post-game press conference. You know, it's tough. I mean, Fran's been saying a lot of the same things, right? The apologies to the fan base, things like that. That's been a big part of it. Fran's been saying a lot of the same things. So I am very curious to hear what Fran has to say this time around, because there's only so much apologizing that can be done, right? But what's one more apology? It's like that analogy, right? Actions speak louder than words. We'll see what happens in the offseason. We'll see what next year looks like. We'll see how much pressure is on Fran this offseason and next year. There's always going to be pressure from the fan base. I'm really curious how much pressure is actually on him, though, from an athletic department, from a university standpoint. Don't know if we'll ever have an answer to that question, but we'll see. Let's see. Joe's got a question here. Do we as fans honestly believe in the coaching staff at this point? Between Collins' performance, after all the talk, to the performance of the team as a whole on the field. You know, I'm with you. I don't personally at this point in time know. The last 2 weeks lost me. I was all in on let's wrap our arms around Fran and wrap our arms around this program, and the recruits, the reinforcements are coming. I was all in on that, and I really thought this is what happens when you lose your quarterback, right? I kept saying all year long, look back to the 1 year Tom Brady and the Patriots didn't win the AFC East and didn't go to the NFL playoffs. It was the year Brady tore his ACL week 1, and that team didn't win enough games without him, right? You can't lose 70-7. You can't have a 1-win football team come into the Dome and blow you out on your home turf. You can't. They hadn't beaten an FBS team all year, and they beat the snot out of Syracuse. The last 2 weeks, I really think, Theo Cuse, to answer your question, I really think lost me. Actually, it was Joe Fresh that asked the question. I think it lost me. I don't have full faith in this coaching staff. I think I have faith in Fran Brown. I have zero faith right now in Elijah Robinson's defense because there just hasn't been really any proof in that pudding. Even last year, I think so much got covered up by the fact that the offense was as prolific as it was, as productive as it was. I think a lot of bad defense got covered up by that. So I don't have faith in the defensive coaching staff. I have faith in Jeff Nixon when he has a great quarterback. It works when he has a great quarterback. McCord was great. Angeli was hooping. But let's remember, Angeli's sample size was pretty small. They were calling for Ricky Collins at halftime of the UConn game. And all of a sudden, the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, Steve turns it on, and he was lights out. The rest of the way against UConn, against Colgate, and against Clemson, he was lights out. So I'm on the Steve train, but it's a small sample size. Is Steve Angeli as good as a Kyle McCord? He's got 2 more years to show it. He does. So I believe in Jeff when things go according to plan. When things don't go according to plan, I think there's a serious inability to adapt with the players you have. Or the players you have aren't very good. And it could be a recipe of all of the above. It really could. So I'm keeping the faith in Fran. I've lost the faith in Robinson. I've lost the faith in Nixon's ability to adapt. Struggling, though, to keep that faith in Fran because I never thought a Fran Brown team would quit. And it feels like the last 2 games, they quit. Pure and simple, quit. So, we'll see. Next year is going to show everything. Next year is going to prove everything. And the schedule is fairly favorable. We talked about it in the pregame. There's kind of no excuses next year. Like, they don't play Miami. They get SMU and Clemson in the Dome, Louisville in the Dome. They don't play Georgia Tech. They get Notre Dame, but it's in the Dome. Non-conference, you're playing Toledo and New Hampshire. Like, they should prove it next year. Your hardest road game might be at Virginia and Charlottesville. Like, are you kidding me? They next year they have to show it. They really have to show it next year. And the ACC is not getting any easier, folks. James Franklin just got to Virginia Tech. Clemson, they're not going to be down forever, you'd have to think. Miami's always in the mix. As long as they're spending the way they're spending in this new NIL era. Tell you what, Brent Key, if he's still the head coach at Georgia Tech, they're going to be in the mix every year. He's a terrific coach. SMU's not going anywhere with Rhett Lashley. They quietly are about to go to the ACC championship game again. So even Virginia with a great year this year. They win tonight against Virginia Tech. They go to the ACC championship. Like, the league's not, it's wide open, but it's also not getting easier, if that makes any sense at all. It's for the taking. But in a year where it was for the taking, Syracuse finished dead last. So, let's see. What else everyone's saying? All the same people saying the same stuff about basketball. No adjustments were made. Maybe adjustments were made and they still couldn't do anything. Yeah. Basketball. I mean, this feels like basketball last year. It does. 3-9 is rock bottom. Murderous schedule. Young rebuilt offensive line. Only serviceable quarterback got hurt. Lost 11 guys to the NFL. Didn't replace a single one. Exactly what we witnessed. Yeah, you're not wrong. 100%. But it can't happen like that. You're supposed to build a program. Right? I get the schedule is hard, but was the schedule that hard? Clemson didn't end up being that good. I mean, they played SMU. They played Miami. They played Notre Dame. It wasn't an easy schedule. All the difficult games were certainly on the road, but the schedule eased up a little bit. They didn't play Louisville. They didn't play Virginia. They dodged a lot of the better teams in the league while still playing a tough schedule. Tennessee, I get it. It wasn't an easy schedule. They should have won more than 3 games. And Ricky was a 4-star out of high school that played at LSU. Them not scouting him enough and him being that bad is puzzling. It really is. Yeah, there weren't any NFL-ready guys. I agree with you, Philly's most wanted. I agree with you 100%. Let's see. Cuse is in the house, has faith in Fran's recruiting, no confidence in anyone in the staff to develop talent. It's a concern. It's certainly a concern because everybody you had last year was plug and play. You didn't have to develop, really. Jackson Meeks, plug and play. Fadil Diggs, plug and play. Kyle McCord, plug and play. LaQuint Allen was a finished product. Aronde Gadsden was a finished product. Like, there wasn't development going on. Those guys were ready. Even Elijah Clark and Justin Barron, like all those guys, they were ready. So yeah, I'm worried about the ability to get these guys ready as well and get these guys up to that level and develop them. But the recruiting is there. We know the recruiting's there, especially if all these kids sign in the coming weeks here. Take away the offense, 28 points they gave to Notre Dame and 7 points for no holding on Notre Dame's 68-yard touchdown run, and they missed tackle. Let's see, 28. I mean, yeah, but they scored 70. Like, I get it, but still, let's see. Notre Dame is likely to give up that game according to reports next year. Definitely a huge year. Schedule softening up a ton. Yeah, I'm with you, Phillies. I did see that Notre Dame's probably going to get off the schedule, which helps you. It's a bummer, but it helps you. Like the bummer side of it is that would have been your like guaranteed sellout in the Dome for season ticket holders and stuff. That's kind of one of the marquee games, but you got to get winnable games on the schedule, so that's fine. 10-2, maybe 11-1. Philly's saying. We'll see. I'm still like partially skeptical about Steve just because the sample size was so small. I think he's awesome, but let's remember a lot of that nation leading numbers you saw was against Colgate. He was killing it against Clemson. I'll give 100% in Death Valley. But maybe Clemson's not that good. Actually, we know they're probably not that good. They're pretty mid. They're pretty mid. They're not bad. They're not good either, though. They're pretty mid. And he did it against UConn. UConn was pretty good this year. Didn't turn it on to the last 5 minutes of the game, but darn it, it was enough. It was enough. Just a little skeptical about Steve. I think he's going to end up having a really nice career for him, though. I really do. I do think so. Just need to see a little bit more proof in the pudding, but I believe in Steve for sure. But they need to get, they're going to go get a couple quarterbacks, at least one, probably two anyways, because clearly you need depth. Let's see, what else is everybody saying here as we are just hanging out waiting for Fran Brown to get up to that podium so that we can listen to what he has to say. Let's see. The 70 points is kind of irrelevant. Think about it this way. Is there a difference between 70-7 and 56-7 besides the optics, flukes? Yeah, I mean, regardless, you got murdered. Right, you were out of the game. It was 21-0 before the offense touched the ball. It doesn't matter the final score. It's just the nature of the blowout. I'd never really thought a Fran Brown team was going to get blown out like that. Maybe a fluky game here or there, but to get blown out by that magnitude, it felt very Greg Robinson era-esque is what it felt like. So whether it was 56-7, whether it was 45-7, if you're any more than 30-7, there's an issue in my eyes. Like, just completely uncompetitive in the game is more what the feeling is there. What else everyone got to say? O'Brien outcoached Brown. Brown is a recruiter, not a coach. We'll see. I sure would like, Fran to be a coach. The thing is like, if he wasn't a coach, you don't win 10 games last year. But at the same time, coaching decisions, coaching choices cost him a couple of times last year. Like, Fran admitted he put the freshman in a bad situation when he had him guard what was his name? Alec Iomanner, the wide receiver for Stanford on that Friday night game. Fran said he put him in a bad position by you're putting a young true freshman on Alec Iomanner to play one-on-one coverage on fourth down when everyone in the Dome knew where the ball was going, and it cost him the game. Stanford kicks the game-winning field goal. Like, that was a coaching mistake. I don't remember one specifically that cost them against Boston College. You could also argue they're, like, lucky in a way to get back into a game like, the Miami game. So, they're ups and downs, all across the board. We'll see. We'll see with Fran. Some big games going on in the ACC, though. That's for sure. A lot of big football in the ACC. We're going to really get a solidified decision as far as who is making it to the ACC championship game in Charlotte next week. Virginia Tech, Virginia is huge because Virginia wins and they're in. They lose, they're out. It's simple for them. Wake at Duke going on right now. What is the score there between Wake and Duke? It looks like Duke won the game. 23 seconds left, 49-32. Florida and Florida State. What is Florida State doing? Florida's up 24-14 on a 5-6 Florida State team. Man, remember when Florida State was like almost in the top 10? Whew. Feels like that was a while ago. See what else is going on in the conference. You got 7:30 NC State, North Carolina. SMU and Cal tonight at 8. Yeah, SMU winning their in too. So the most likely route is Virginia SMU to the ACC championship, it appears, but we'll see. Notre Dame plays Stanford tonight at 10:30 as well. What would Philly say in the chat? Dude, I don't know. I don't know if Fran's coming. Yeah. I'm just I don't know what else to say about Syracuse, guys. Like, being completely honest with you, like, you guys watch the game. I know it's my job, but they got stomped. They got stomped. And we looked ahead to next year, and we talk about next year's schedule. We've been going for what, 40 minutes, 40-something minutes, commercial free for 40-something minutes. We'll call it Improving the Team, brought to you by Auburn Community Hospital. Auburn Community Hospital is improving their team. Apply today at auburncommunityhospital.org. Well, we're waiting for Fran. Phone lines are open if anyone wants to call in and chat. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. Let's see. When is the media going to ask him the real question, not generic or player questions? We need... Yeah. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not there to ask him. Not saying I would ask him. You know, there's a time and place for everything, right? You got to ask the hard-pressed questions, but you're also trying to foster relationships, and it's more complicated than you think. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior, if you will. But I hear you, and some questions certainly need to be asked. I want someone to ask him about why he has faith in what he's seen defensively out of Elijah Robinson. You know? That I would like to see that. Because I know they're boys and they go way back, growing up together in Camden, New Jersey. I get all that. I think Fran Brown would rather have the ship sink with Elijah Robinson on it and they all go down together than get rid of him. I just really think that that's the case because Fran Brown seems to be such a loyal, relationships-based guy. I would really like to hear somebody ask Fran, what is it about Elijah Robinson's defense that gives him faith to get stops, to be productive, and to win games? And if there are any changes that are going to be made on the defensive side of the ball heading into next year. Let's see. Philly says, it was definitely ugly and there isn't much to dissect, so appreciate it. This is exactly what Vegas envisioned. Yeah, I'm with you. Had orange colored glasses on next year. Is what matters. 10 plus wins. CFP run is very much on. It is. It is because of the schedule. It is because of the caliber of talent you have coming in. It is because the quarterback you have. I think it's really all going to depend, Phillies. I think it's really all going to depend on what they do in the portal. I do think they need to bring some guys in the portal. Pass rushers. You need a ferocious pass rush. Give me one edge rusher to make a difference. Look at a guy like Cassius Howell at Bowling Green, right? Like Cassius Howell, at Texas A&M. Cassius Howell transferred to Texas A&M from Bowling Green. Now he's one of the best edge rushers in the country. And he's on a team that's about to go play for a college football playoff. And he's a monster. His numbers are unreal this year. He's turned himself from a Bowling Green player to probably a draft pick, right? So look at a guy like that. Syracuse needs to go find some guys like that, a Cassius Howell type guy that can make an impact. And I think they need a lot more help on defense than they do offense. I'm being told we have Fran Brown. Let's go to Fran. We got
seniors for all the hard work they've done all year since I've got here. Just constantly working, coming to work every day, just enjoying everything, right? Being able to be student athletes, I feel like they've done a really good job, and they show guys so much in so many ways, right? I know didn't have all the wins that they wanted, but we learned a lot from those guys in losses. We learned a lot from those guys, just how to lead, how to continue to fight day in and day out, and I'm very thankful for all of those guys that were seniors that got to play their last game here.
Questions? We'll start
Fran, aside from Steve's injury, which you covered, how did we get here that you ended the season with an 8-game losing streak?
We didn't get wins. Nah, you figure. I mean, just look at today, right? Our top receiver going to week 3, week 4, had 5 touchdowns in 4 games. He was out. Top running back, he was out. We shuffled our offensive line the entire year. We playing with so many guys all the time. Devin Grant still was limping out there today, who we thought would be a big knockout safety for us. Projected to be a first 3-round draft pick, but when the season started, got hurt, never got back from his injury well enough. And just different guys in and out all year, from Deuce Chestnut not being able to play, not being able to be healthy, trying to get the different guys to go in. And they just got to have the other guys in the back ready and the guys ready to play. But I felt like we just continued to shuffle all year long, right? There was a shuffle of guys when you just go and look at it. Then when you say the quarterback situation, I think that's on every level. I mean, you go to the NFL, when they lose a quarterback, it's a lot that's done in that. Like, and when you're running an NFL system, it's kind of similarities that happen, which is why we've been working on doing something opposite of that as this next season comes in, things that we'll implement and that we'll be able to do for the next season. And just throughout spring ball to being able to work so we won't get caught in that situation. And then we got a bunch of guys that'll come in that will be able to help. You want to continue to stack the depth at all positions, so no matter who goes down, it's almost similar and almost the same.
On the quarterback situation, how come you had so much difficulty developing a backup that could operate the offense?
Because they were extremely young and just new to the system, like freshmen. Right, last year you think Kyle took almost every snap, and the backup to Kyle was Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson left, and he's at another school. You had Jakari, who was down on the scout team, working with us the whole year, so he was running a different offense every week. Wasn't exactly in that offense. And then through the season, Ricky was here to try and learn and do things, and Ricky hurt his thumb, which gave us an out that I knew, okay, we got to go get this quarterback. And we knew who could play. And once he went in and we were able to get him, we were confident in that. But we knew that Ricky was learning the offense throughout that time. I didn't expect Steve to go down in week 4, right? If he didn't go down, we'd probably be talking a whole different mindset right now, but he did. And I learned so much through this, though. I'm telling you, of making sure you got 4 to 5 really good quarterbacks, right? Especially when you're able to use the portal. High school might not be the thing to do all the time for that position. Other positions it may be, but there's some things that you got to be able to allow the program to continue to move on, because we can't be like an NFL team or a college team where there's so many young fans and young kids and all people around that. They expected to see something different, so we got to be ready for that.
Fran, in the first half, we saw a lot of Dan Galore. You used him in the Wildcat a lot. Was that something you were planning on doing kind of throughout the week? And was that something you were kind of game planning for, using him in the Wildcat?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do all week. I went and I told him that's what we was going to run and what we would do, and we had a chance to get that roll and get that done. And then as they moved in different pieces, put different stuff in the box, it just was a little bit of a change up. Still trying to run him, but just got behind a little bit too fast, right?
He's a guy that's obviously been here. He's experienced that Wildcat role before. But what does a guy like Dan kind of mean to you and mean to this program, I guess, kind of going out like that in his last game?
I think he exemplifies Dart. Any player that comes up here today and you ask him, they'll say Dan works extremely hard. He does everything right. He's on time everywhere. If everyone on the team does what Dan does, we'll reach all of our goals. Dan's a great kid. He's a faith-driven kid. I love Dan. It means a lot to me. I know he leads a lot to his teammates also, but his mom and dad did an amazing job raising him.
Aiden and Chris. Coach, with just what transpired over the last 2 months, how much will this motivate you going forward?
A lot. I'm very motivated. I'm excited. I can't wait to. So you got the 3rd. You got some next week, signing day. I have a few guys want to go in the portal. That'll happen throughout the month, and don't get crazy. And that's cool. That's a part of the game. January 10th, though, is where my eyes on. All of our commits will report to campus. The 11th, we'll have our team meeting. And then the 12th, we'll get ready for us to be student athletes, right? And I want to take full advantage of everything that we have the opportunity of doing come that time. But I'm very motivated. I'm excited about it.
And just what was your message to, obviously you had a lot of seniors to honor table. What was your message to all the guys that are coming back next year in that locker room?
We get to, not got to. We get to, not got to.
So what's that mean exactly?
You get to do what you're doing right now. You don't got to do it, right? You get to do it, and that's the mindset and the approach you need to have. Make sure you know that you get to and not got to. I just stated that to them, and I wanted to communicate with the seniors and stuff like that. But then Steve and all those guys took over that room. We got a real good group of leaders coming back next year that I'm really thankful and excited about. So those guys kind of when they talk to the team.
Hello, Chris, and then Dan. Fran, when we've talked to you on Mondays, you mentioned there will be changes next year. How much change do you anticipate on your coaching staff?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything irate or just make impulsive statements and things like that. So I will have to go back and sit back and watch film and go through some things and then talk to ADs and stuff like that of giving some expert advice. And then we'll figure all those things out. But right now I'm just focused on there's a lot of recruits here tonight still. Even though it's a record, we got a lot of big-time players on campus and people on campus to go to dinner and things like that. So I'm just living in the moment. When that time comes, we will. But I'm not really thinking about that.
You said that the 2 coordinators will come back. Is that still the case? And if so, what makes you feel the defense is headed the right direction?
We're just going to watch all the film and go through a bunch of stuff. And then I don't want to make any bad statements or impulsive things. So, I'll deal with that next week after we get a week of self-scout. It's important that you just sit there and go back and watch everything and just do it the right way. Just overall, I want to make sure I do that.
Yeah.
Brandon, looking at the fact that you've leaned on faith always, just what you can say about your faith in this team, their faith in you, your faith overall in God, and just taking a look at what's more important.
My faith is strong. That hasn't wavered at all. It's unwavering faith. I believe the team got faith in me. They understand. They know I'm going to make the right decisions when it comes to giving them the opportunity to go and be successful. There's some decisions that I'll have to make coming up for the football team, for Syracuse, and I'm going to make the right decisions for those. And then I think that their faith is strong also. I think all of our faith is consistently building. That's something that we talk about all the time and being able to go. So that's what I would say when it comes to that.
And then knowing that you get to build around Steve Angeli once again, just what you can say about the fact, I know you say going into the season, he has a relationship with every single person on the team. What's it like to build around him as your nucleus, and just what you can say to that effect?
It means a lot to be able to do that. But also in the same sense, you want to be able to do that around the offensive line. And we're going to build around that offensive line and Steve. Because if the offensive line is right and we can run the ball consistently, we will never be in this storm that we're in right now. So it's important that we're able to do that, and that's something that that'll be a huge emphasis this offseason for us to make sure that happens, to be able to help Steve, right? So that everyone isn't just coming up blitzing him like crazy and doing things of that nature. And our offensive line will continue to work and get better. They're young. You got Byron, you got Cam, Joe Cruz, Trey Mack, and then we'll be seeing who's going to be the center. It's a bunch of those guys, but we got a lot of guys coming back, and then we got depth behind them. Skyler and all those guys are ready to play, Jaden Mann. So we're pretty deep when it comes to the offensive line, and I want to make sure that that's the vocal main point of the team to go along with Steve.
Fran, you touched on injuries earlier, and injuries that we test your depth or affect your team chemistry. Can you talk about those two things and how injury impacted those two areas of the team?
I mean, it did. I just have to adapt better, though, as they do. Those injuries definitely affected the team. I mean, you see that from a quarterback perspective, from the wide receiver, and then from the running back, and then got to go and put third-string guard at center, and just different things of that nature. So, I mean, that affected it, but can't complain about those things, right? We're competitive. Football coach, you just got to keep going, right? And I got to learn from this storm that was here right now and then be ready to adapt to it and do it the right way next year.
And then with the quarterbacks, you mentioned earlier in the week, Steve, a freshman, you'd like two more quarterbacks in the portal. What does that mean for guys like Joe and Luke and Rich and Jakari and stuff like that?
I'm going to just go back and watch the film. I don't want to make any impulsive statements or decisions or anything right now. The same thing that goes with the coaches. I think they all deserve the utmost respect. They've all done a good job all year. So to just say, I just know that, I mean, the nature of this business is crazy, right? It's different. It's the nature of the business. I mean, I got to go out and recruit and things like that. But I just can't tell you where anybody stands or anything right now. Kind of focused on we just lost, and then I got some really good players on campus that we need to get to commit to be able to help us not go through this again.
And last two questions will go Mikey in the second row, and then Ashley at left.
What was the mindset coming into this game? Was it like, all right, let's just get it over with, or was it something different?
No, it's never just get it over with. It was let's go run the ball. Let's be able to run the football and make them stop the run. We got to keep running the ball. That's what we're able to do with Dan and him getting to run the ball and try to get Dan and Will going to run the football, and then being able to run it on the edges and set those things up to set other plays up off of that. That was the mindset of being able to do that.
And after Angeli went down, you mentioned that this team is going through adversity. Considering you guys lost your last 8 games, how would you say your team responded to that adversity?
I mean, if you judge everything by wins and losses, right? If you're judging it by wins and losses, I would say not good. But if you're judging it by life, which they're still going through, and things that have to happen, I just tell them to watch me. We talk about these last 2 months. These 2 months of life are going to be 2 months that they're going to face in the real world. They're going to face as men, right? We're all men and women, and you go through some tough times in life. And I talk to them about you got to make sure you're there for your family. You got to be able to hold yourself accountable because your family going to need you. Y'all could be going through a change of job, not having those things. And there's 2 months of I'm on the job. I really can't stand my boss. We don't get along. These things aren't working. And you got to continue to work. You got to lock in. Right? I talk to my players about family situation, things that happen and go on. We use those 2 months the same way. And I'll tell them, you might be in an argument. Kids, if the family's not feeling all like it's going to work, don't leave the house. Go sleep on the couch. Stay focused. The storm will pass. You just continue to work. So I just took this and I use life. Like in life, we're going to go through things, right? I grew up pretty tough, pretty hard. And there was a 2-month stretch of my life before that was extremely hard, and I made it here. And I know and I believe, and not even just I believe, I'm almost promising that I know we'll make it out of this, and I know our football team will be 5 times better than we were this football season. There's a lot of things that I got to learn from the structure of running the football team, just being able to do things, understanding and knowing how to lose. I wouldn't think that I would have been able to stand in front of them 8 weeks straight and be able to talk, me knowing how much I love the game. I've cried every single loss that we've had my entire life, so being able to do that, I would have thought possibly you can't do that. What would I have to say to them? Where would I be able to be at with them? And if it wasn't for the man above just being there with me and pushing that, then those things won't happen. But these 2 months, and it's life. And we got some seniors that are not going to go play college professional football. They're about to go attack the real world, and they're going to work. And I hope that they can use this and say what we went through, what Fran kept talking to us about, where I'm at right now. I'm going through this with my wife. Let me go lay on the couch. Can't leave the house. Let me make sure I get these things done. And I just take this as life lessons that will help. So we always talk about I want to win the right way. So to be able to build everything and do it all the right way, I'd rather lose if it's not going to be 100% the right way. So that way we have something to sustain on. And I think that as you talk to our young guys when they come up here and they talk to you, all the players on our football team, you'll see we all have the same vision. we all in the same direction. I got to make some decisions and some moves to put them in better positions consistently so they can go out there and showcase their talent. I feel there's a lot of times that I didn't do that and mess those guys up. So we'll make sure that we get those things done. I'm confident in the administration, me being able to sit, talk to them, and get everything straight, get everything done right. But we're going to use these next 2 months as life. And if this could be the hardest 2 months of their lives, and I'm cool with that.
And last question after.
Coach, you've talked a lot about, what you've kind of started to learn here. Now through 2 full seasons here as a head coach, what can you say is the biggest thing you've learned about leading a football program as a head coach?
There's ups and downs. Had all the ups last year and all the downs this year and everything that you could possibly go through. But I probably learned a lot more this year just from a staff perspective, from the players, being able to keep them motivated, continuously keep them going. I know when the players are at a point where damn they're broke now, and how you got to be able to grab and get those guys back and being able to push and go. I mean, it's tough losing 8 games the way they practice, the way I'm demanding that those guys go out and practice. So everybody need to be upset with Fran, but from what they done and how they work, it's a lot that I got from them. But I would just say that I learned a lot about the players. I learned a lot about our team. I learned a lot about how to manage a team, how to continue to run the football team, and how to be able to keep them motivated and keep them working, right? It's easy to do it when you're winning, but when you're losing, it's a little difficult, right? It's hard. It's hard for guys as fans to stay fans, right? You don't want to stay fans when guys are losing. Like a lot of people can't face adversity. They kind of run when it's not looking good. They're going to go the other way, right? So we're just going to keep receipts and just work extremely hard. And I'm learning how to love my players unconditionally. I'm learning how to be there for them through ups and downs. And as long as the players and myself, I got their back 100%, and I know they got mine. Y'all see us get out of this storm, and it's going to be pretty fun for us next year. January 10th, everybody start to come back, 11th to 12th, and we're going to work and dominate January. Then we're going to go into February. Then we're going to take it month by month until the football season starts, and we'll be ready to compete. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, there is Fran Brown, the head coach of the Syracuse Orange. There's a lot to unpack there. It just, again, seems like everything's looking ahead. There's a lot of upcoming dates to be on the lookout for. Let's see how many of these guys commit that you hope stay committed and end up signing. And let's see what they do. Let's see what they do in the offseason. Let's see how they attack the portal. Let's see how they make shifts and changes to the coaching staff. Let's see what they do. Fran's right. Probably a lot more to learn from this year than last year. He's now experienced, quite literally, just about the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. He's kind of been there and done that now as a head coach in just 2 seasons. So let's see what they do to respond to it. We'll be fascinated to find out, no question. Appreciate everybody hanging out all football season long. We'll be around, plenty of basketball talk. Don't get that twisted, but appreciate everyone being a part of it. It was fun to start. It got dicey at times, right? We definitely would have liked to talk about more wins than losses, but no, it was always a treat, a blessing to get to hang out with all of you, get to talk to all of you, talk to all the callers. Don't take it for granted, not for a second. So very appreciative to everybody being a part of the audience and being a part of it all. So thank you. Thank you to Jordan behind the scenes in the Dome. Thank you to Paul McCoy, who produces every post-game show and pre-game show that I do all year long. Really appreciate you, Paul. You're the man. We'll be back this week. We got Orange Nation noon to 2 as always. Drive Time makes its return this week with Tim 5 to 6. We'll have basketball pregame. A big one coming up on Tuesday in the Dome. ACC SEC Challenge. Syracuse hosts a top 25 Tennessee team. So we really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long and good night. For now, we'll talk to you this upcoming week. A little bit of hoops. But that concludes Syracuse football season right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.